Last Sunday we celebrated the Feast of the Ascension. That's 40 days after the resurrection. And if you stop and think about it, Lent was 40 days, and now 40 days from the resurrection up into the Ascension, the same amount of time. But really, it's a bit strange because Lent is preparation for Easter. We should give more prominence, more importance, more emphasis to the Easter season rather than to Lent, but we don't. Usually every year after the resurrection, we come to Easter Monday, then we come to the Ascension, and it's almost like the resurrection never took place. We're just sort of the same people we were before Lent. We made a big change, hopefully, in our lives during the season of Lent, and we should make an even greater change in the Easter season when we're living as Jesus did. But somehow that doesn't happen. Maybe we're not ready to be real apostles yet. The disciples that are mentioned in the Acts of the Apostles in the Ascension readings were like that also. Luke had to remind them as he started writing the book of the Acts of the Apostles. He said, I already wrote a first book in which I told you about what Jesus started to do and started to teach. He uses the word started. The implication was Jesus started teaching us and put all this into what Luke wrote in the Gospel, and now we're supposed to finish it. When he was writing that, Luke seemed to be following the guidance of Mark when he wrote his Gospel, because he said in the beginning, this is the beginning of the Gospel of Jesus Christ. He was alerting his readers to the fact that everything that would follow in the Gospel of Mark was just the beginning. It needed to be finished by the people. The response of the people to the Gospel would determine whether the kingdom of God would actually be established, or whether what Jesus set in motion would just fizzle away as some sort of a pious fairy tale. Luke is telling us in his readings on the Ascension that it took a while for the apostles to become real apostles. And Matthew makes the same point in his gospel reading that day. He said, the disciples, after the resurrection, followed the command of Jesus, and they went to the mountain. And when they saw Jesus on the mountain, they worshipped him, but they doubted. Jesus' resurrection was more than they could handle. They couldn't grasp what that really meant, even though they were seeing him with their eyes. They were confused. They were frightened. They were afraid to take a risk to really follow Jesus. But we see in the Ascension story that even though the disciples may not have been fully ready, Jesus said this is the moment for him to hand over his mission to them. They didn't know everything, but it was time for them to begin to practice what Jesus had preached. And that's where we are too in this Easter season. We're not fully ready. Our faith isn't fully strong. Our knowledge, our understanding of what we believe isn't complete. But Jesus has handed over his work to us also. Christianity, it's not a philosophy that we follow. It's not a collection of doctrines or dogmas that we're supposed to believe. It's not a system of worship and prayers and masses that we have to follow. But rather, Christianity is a way of life, something that we're supposed to make happen by the way that we live day by day. We have to make the kingdom of God happen, and we really won't understand the good news except when we do try to make the kingdom happen. We will understand Easter when we begin to live as if death really has been overcome and has no power over us. And we will know Christ in us by allowing his grace to move us to give our lives for others.